Hi everybody, and welcome to Moto Apex. In this bike care video, what we're going to talk about is basic motorcycle chain maintenance. And there's two aspects to that. One is maintaining the proper tension on your chain, and the other aspect of that is cleaning and lubricating your chain. All three are important. All three work together. If your chain's too loose or too tight, the bike's not going to perform properly, and the chain's not going to perform properly, and it's going to be put under undue stress. It's going to wear out too soon, and it could damage your motorcycle if it were to break. So that's a very important aspect, and this is one of the few things that any rider can do themselves. It's something that should be part of your basic bike routine, to check the chain tension, and also to remember to service your chain about every 500 miles is what's recommended. Obviously, if your bike's really gritty after a ride and you see the chain's dirty, you need to service it. But generally speaking, it's about a 500-mile cycle. Some would say twice a month. I think that assumes you're a pretty active rider every weekend. So 500 miles is a pretty good benchmark. So I'll be right back and show you the items you need to service your chain. So the things you need to have handy as you service your chain are a good chain cleaner, and all the products, and we're talking about street bikes here, so all of the products we're talking about will be clearly marked on the can that they are specified for O, X, and Z ring chains, and most street bike chains are an O-ring type chain. So you want to look for that. You don't want off-road cleaner or lubricant. So same thing, this is a name brand lubricant. It's rated for an O-ring chain, and so you'll need that. As you go to your dealer and look at the guys in the shop, the technicians doing service work, they're usually all wearing these gloves, these nitrile gloves that protect your hands from solvents. I'm not saying that every time you service your chain that you need to be wearing a pair of gloves. Those guys are exposed to solvents all day long, but it's a nice thing to have, to not have your skin absorbing these various solvents, and keep your hands clean. I don't worry about that a whole lot, but it's nice to have. A couple other items you're going to want to have handy are a rag and a brush. This is a plastic brush. It may look like a wire brush, but you want to use a soft brush. A lot of people say use an old toothbrush. I'd say this is about the same softness and texture, and you can use that to get the grit off your chain. And then you want a rag to both use while you're cleaning your chain and also to get extra lubricant off. And one safety item is, as you finish your job, you're done with this rag, you don't want to bring it in the house, you don't want to put it in the trash can, you don't want to ever bring a rag with solvents on it in the house. So leave it outside, let it air out. If it's dirty, throw it away. I wouldn't even put it in the outside trash can until the solvents have evaporated. So I'll come back and we'll look at chain tension, and we'll look at cleaning the chain and lubricating the chain. So before any ride, you want to, and the bike should be on the ground before you do this, but you want to check your chain tension. And the way you do that is in the midpoint between the front sprocket and the back sprocket. You can use a ruler, but most of us can judge approximately an inch. And you simply want to take your finger, move the chain, look for the amount of play. It can be a little bit less than an inch, it can be a little bit more than an inch, but generally we're looking for about an inch of play. So if your bike chain is too tight, you want to deal with that. You want to get it serviced. If it's flopping around, you definitely want to get it serviced. So that's pretty much it for chain tension, but you want it right, because if it's not right, it's putting undue stress on either the chain or the bike transmission, and so you just want to have that right. And if you don't know how to tighten your chain, you want to get it to the dealer. Even in the Honda manual on my bike, it says that they kind of have it set up so it's not easy to do yourself, because it requires special tools. And I know that my dealer, having installed the chain, is happy to adjust the chain for me. I don't think that's something they're going to charge me for, on a sporadic basis. They've welcomed me to come by anytime and get my chain adjusted, because they know they installed the chain and they're happy to help me with that. One quick note, as you do replace your chain, you're going to want to replace the front sprocket and the back sprocket. These are all wear items. They wear together. So when you replace one, you replace them all, generally speaking. And so bear that in mind. As you're looking at your chain tension, look for spots that what are called flat spots, and those are spots in the linkage that are not moving, and you can see it. It's pretty clear when you've got a spot in the chain that's stuck. It looks stiff relative to the other links, and when you see that, you're probably due for a chain replacement, because you don't want those flat spots that are not moving, and you know, you want every link to still be independent and moving properly. So with that, we'll come back and clean and lubricate the chain. Cleaning the chain's pretty easy. I'm going to put something down to catch any solvent, but you know, you can use a brush. As we talked about before, you know, if you've got some type of stand, you're going to be able to rotate your tire, and you're going to rotate it in the opposite direction that it moves when you're riding the bike. So we're going to be moving the chain in the opposite direction. If you see a lot of grit on the chain, you can use a brush, get the grit off. You know, in cleaning the chain, what we're trying to do is get grit that can get between the moving parts. We want to reduce that friction. We want to get that grit off. And you know, the main thing we're doing in order to do that is spraying cleaner. Before I go further, some people say spray along the bottom of the back sprocket. Some say spray towards the front sprocket. The main thing is we don't want to spray anything on the side of our tires, so we want to keep all these sprays off our tires. And so we're turning and we're spraying, and we want to get all the parts of the chain, get the grit off, get the chain good and clean. After we've done the entire chain, which obviously I haven't done, we can take our rag, continue to turn the wheel or the tire, use our rag and clean our chain and really get the grit off of it. So you want to thoroughly spray the entire chain. You want to make the entire cycle, get all the grit off, get it clean, wait, let the cleaner come off. I haven't done that, but this is just for demonstration. Now we want to lubricate the chain, and I've taken off the standard nozzle, put on this piece so that I can cover all the parts of the chain. You want to get the outside linkage, you want to get the inside, you want your chain to be warm. So this is good to do after you've ridden your bike, the lubricating part, because with the heat, the lubricant will get absorbed, or it'll get inside all parts of the chain. So you want your chain to be warm. And same thing, spraying, you're getting the inner part of the chain, getting the outer part of the chain, and you're going all the way around, of course. Spraying away from your tire, spraying forward towards the front sprocket. Once you've done that completely, you want to let this lubricant sit for 15 minutes or so. Let it soak in. You know, just let it sit. Again, I haven't done that. But once you've done that, and we've done the entire chain, if you could see this closer, and I know you can't, it's just coated with lubricant. And when my bike comes back from the dealer and they've serviced the chain and they know what they're doing, it's not dripping with lubricant. In fact, it looks almost dry. So what they've done is they've lubricated as I showed you, and then they've taken a rag and they've taken off the extra lubricant. The point of lubricating your chain isn't to have it dripping with lubricant. It's to have the pieces that move, these pieces that are touching each other, whether it's the pins or the linkage pieces or the pieces in the inside, the rollers, etc. Those are the parts that need to be lubricated, and they don't need to be dripping with lubricant, because that just picks up grit when you're riding. So after you've lubricated, after it's sat for a while, take the extra lubricant off. You can also use your rag and your cleaner, clean your sprocket. What I'm not going to do today is take off the front sprocket cover. but you can, and you can clean in here and get what's called extra lubricant that builds up and is called fling. And there is, you know, it's going to build up in here, and other items that come from the road are going to build up in here. There's 2 bolts on my bike that hold this cover on. They have Loctite on the threads. It's the medium type of thread lock so that they don't vibrate off. When you're looking for that, it's the blue coated thread lock. It comes in different colors for different strengths. Red is a real lockdown formula. Blue is a medium. It'll break so that you can take this back off. When you do that, you need to clean the old Loctite off. You need to put just a little bit. Talked to a mechanic today. He said just put a little bit on there, because as you retighten the bolts, it'll spread across all the threads. Talk to your dealer. Find out about how hard to retighten these bolts. Mine is about 12 foot-pounds, which is, you know, he said he does it by feel. It's just a good, you know, one lockdown type motion. But the reason I'm not taking this off is that he said, you know, if you do it wrong, you're going to snap these bolts. And I've just had my bike serviced, and, you know, I really just don't think it's necessary to get in there right now. But don't forget that your front sprocket does need to be inspected and cleaned, and getting that stuff out of there, all the buildup lubricant's a good idea. So I hope this is helpful. You want to clean your chain. You want to let that sit and dry off. You want to lubricate it, let that sit and soak in, wipe off the excess. You want to do this at least every 500 miles. There's no greater sign of a novice rider than a rusted chain, a chain that looks like it hasn't been serviced. It's just a sign that you're not an experienced rider. But more importantly, you just want your chain to perform well. Again, think about the friction, think about the heat, and think about, you know, how much better your chain is going to perform and last longer if you service it properly. So I hope this has been helpful. Thanks for coming to MotoApex.com. As always, ride safe and take care. Thank you.